Hello and welcome back to the Motivating Force. Starting off today here, I just want to give a shout out to Vespertine Apparel. We got some new shirts in. He is our sponsor, but we did pay for these shirts and he did not pay me to say this. But man, his clothing line is just great quality. Definitely check it out. Me and Josue are getting ready to go camping, so we got some apparel to kind of match that vibe. He's got something for everybody, man. Definitely check that out. We got links down below. It's a great guy. It's a great store. Great quality products. Make sure to check them out. I hope everybody is having a wonderful Monday today. And today, we're just going to give out a little bit of a PSA or a friendly reminder towards the concepts of discipline. Now, I know we've preached about discipline before. We've talked about many different aspects of it. And today, we're kind of taking an interesting twist on it, I want to say, because discipline does not need to be in your life for you to be successful. But it is something you definitely need to have. So we're going to talk about that, talk about the differences of having it and being without it, and really what it can do for you.
Well, yeah, there's different people that can also become successful or come into an extraordinary amount of money without having that discipline. But I'm sure you're going to talk about that in a second. But
yeah, we're definitely going to get to that. But first off, just to say, working towards your personal growth and achieving success, it can be done with very little consideration towards having discipline. And you can achieve success by simply changing your state of mind, desiring a more peaceful life, living a simpler life, and just being more satisfied in the little things and values, extrinsic values, compared to seeking out monetary gains or tangible values. So there's like a clear distinction here between what it can mean to be successful, whether that involves money or not. But just to be able to live a happy life, that's success.
yeah.
So
And I mean, like when it comes to discipline, there's obviously handful of people that have been able to achieve like great success and have that like extreme discipline towards their like work ethic. But then you have people that are disciplined in the like workforce that they're just constantly working. You know, they work the 9 to 5, 40 hours a week all the time, but they never get anywhere with like success wise. So it's always good to also have that end goal of where you imagine that success lying, so then you can form that discipline to work towards that.
because discipline does come in many different forms, and what it's going to do for you is it's just going to open up greater opportunities towards your goals, towards being successful, getting the things that you want in this life, but it's not necessarily a deciding factor. And I know, I mean, from where I work at, we see many different types of people from all walks of life, and we get a lot of people in that are very well off financially, and they have no discipline at all.
Yeah.
And the craziest part about that is you can see that in people without knowing them personally. You don't have to go to their house and see that their house is a mess. Just by the way that they act and their mannerisms and the way they talk to you and whatnot, you already kind of get a feeling like you already know that if you go over there, it's going to be a mess.
Yeah.
You
also get a sneak peek because you see the inside of their car.
Well, that's true. Yeah. Yeah, I guess I do get a little bit into people's personal lives. This kind of goes back to one of those original questions that I would always ask myself and ask you guys here on the show and talk about, which was whenever we see people who are successful or, they have the big house, the big car, a great family, large family, a lot of money, whatever the case may be. And we're like, well, there's no way in hell that dude can be sad or depressed or miserable. And a lot of times they are.
Yeah.
And you think, well, this person has everything that I want, so how come they're not happy? And it kind of makes you think like, well, crap, if I get all that stuff, am I going to be happy? It's like, well, there's your answer. It's not having all those things in your life, reaching those levels of success in your life does not coincide with your happiness. And you need to build up a lot of these, extrinsic values or intrinsic values to really form that happy life, the life that you will be proud to say you have.
Well, yeah, that's almost like one of the reasons why like people that hit the lottery, like they always end up bankrupt or whatever, because they're reaching that successful life, which is for them, I guess they're labeling like I just wanted all that money, but then they don't have the discipline when it comes to knowing how to manage their money or having the discipline of setting up other means of businesses like investing the money or doing whatever it is on the side so then they can continue growing it instead of just spending it all. Because everybody that hits the lottery, I mean, 90% of the people that hit the lottery just kind of blow it all, then they're miserable because they don't have the discipline before they even got that success.
And exactly, and discipline does play into that very, very much because, there is a point in time. It's like, I've bought lottery tickets before. Every time the Powerball goes over 500 million, it's like,
what's $5?
Exactly. Like, we'll take the chances now, but it's not that weekly basis, But it is exactly where if you don't earn those things that come your way, then you're not going to really place the value on it. And people who just come around and win a couple $1 million, that $1 million isn't worth $1 million to them.
Right.
Because they didn't really do anything to earn it.
Yeah, it was too quick for them. They don't have any gratification towards that lump sum.
And we can definitely get into that struggle with ourselves and our mentality when we're focusing so hard on all the other areas of our life and we're not really focusing on ourselves. Because even down to focusing on your family, which is about as personal as you're going to get with everything, it's still not really focusing on yourself. And you have to be able to spend time with yourself and develop the qualities and the character traits in your life that will ultimately make you happy.
Yeah, because focusing on family, like let's say it's making sure they're all protected, they're all accommodated for, you can burn yourself out real fast if all your energy is just throwing it out onto them. It's not saying that's a bad thing per se, but it's like you also, like you said, you have to balance out with also being disciplined in how to self-care, how to recover from all that hard work and, distribute everything evenly.
Yeah, I think one of those most important first values that people really do need to focus on is discipline, because it is one that you can kind of sweep under the rug and forget about, because you can progress in every aspect of your life and still lack discipline. And discipline, to put it simply, is kind of just doing the things you typically don't want to do.
Yeah.
So, the best example I have for this was actually was watching an interview with Jackie Chan from a long time ago, right?
Jackie.
Yeah. And his big thing that he talked about with it was cleanliness. When he was talking about looking at people and determining if people had discipline in their lives or not. And he said by cleanliness, he's like, I don't mean do they smell good, do they take a shower, do they look presentable, but what do they do with all of their actions? Are they clean with their actions? And he was saying how like if you go to a restaurant and you were sitting down, and of course, we all know where Jackie Chan's from, and he's like, and we're eating rice, and you look around the table, everybody and like his family or whatnot, every single bowl of rice, there's not a single grain left.
Yeah.
Nothing's untouched, right? It's like clean action. You're going to eat all of it.
You know what's great? I can relate hardcore with that, and it might just be because I like rice a lot. But like I always get so offended, like even if I'm making rice and then like my girlfriend's eating it, if she leaves like 3 or like just a little clump or like just rice, grains just spread out on the plate that it looks empty, like that's not clean. So then I'd like finish it off because I never leave a grain of rice.
Yeah, that's funny. But that's his main example. He's like, just cleanliness in your actions in that sense, because what that means is being able to follow through completely.
Yeah.
And a more realistic example he talked about later on that he said was always driving him crazy was he's talking about being over at the family's house, and the kids, like everybody put their shoes up at the front door, and the kids, they'll have a shoe here, a shoe here.
Yeah.
And he's like, if you take your shoes off, you put them together, and you put them perfectly in line with everything else. Back to the cleanliness of your actions, and just another example to kind of give you guys an idea of what we mean by cleaning up your actions.
Yeah. Well, what starts with the cleanliness and then like keeping things neat and orderly ends up growing into like professionalism once you start adding those intrinsic values to other aspects of your life. That just continues to grow when it starts off something so small as taking off your shoes and putting it next to each other.
And it's great too, because I love how he kind of went into it, because he's saying like people will tell him like, oh, that sounds kind of overboard. Like, the race thing's kind of overboard. The shoe thing's okay. It makes sense because that is actually like physically like dirty, I guess, right? And he's like, well, I use that example because it's easier for you to see. And he's like, people call it like extreme traditionalism, or like you think, oh, well, that's just the traditional way to do things. You have to eat every grain. You have to do this. You have to do that.
Yeah. Or OCD.
Yeah. And he's like, it's not necessarily the fact that it's the traditional way to do things, but there's a reason behind that. There's a reason why it's set up like that, because you need to be able to follow through on everything you're going to do. And he's like, it's not overboard. It's really simple, easy stuff.
Yeah.
And it's being analytical of every single thing you do, because you're going to need that in your life if you're trying to really get somewhere.
Yeah. It's like when you start trying to implement discipline towards like a workout regimen, don't say you're going to go to the gym 5 days a week if you're not going to follow through with it. That's why they say start off with like 2 days or 3 days, but then actually follow through with those 3 days. And then you just keep it going. And then once you feel like you can add another day, you add another day. But if you start off with 5 and you don't follow through with it, you're going to lose the motivation to continue on that routine that you set for yourself. But then like another point with the great Jocko Willink and discipline equals freedom. When you have discipline towards routines and like plans that you're going to have for yourself, you have that freedom of not having to worry about what's next. When you're disciplined in your daily plans or your activities or your schedule that you make, whatever the case may be, you're not there like all willy-nilly, like, oh, what's next? What do I have to do? I have to go to the store or whatever. You already had that scheduled out. You're disciplined enough to know, okay, this was what I had to do at 10 o'clock. This is what I have to do at 11 o'clock. So it gives you that freedom of not having that stress of what's next weighing down on your shoulders.
That goes great too, because like the last point that was brought up in that interview with Jackie was, he was saying like, okay, yeah, sure, you guys might think it's like hypercritical or whatnot to be doing like these types of things with discipline, but the whole purpose for it is it'll make you happier to have that discipline, because what you're doing is you're preventing chaos in your life, because your subconscious picks up on every single thing that's going on around you, every single thing you do. And if you have a shoe here and a shoe here, your brain's going to be like, oh, okay, well, we need to remember our shoes aren't together and they're not going to be easy to find.
Yeah, the remembering thing's a problem, because then when you go the next day to look for the shoes, you're freaking out and you're like, where are my shoes? And then it's under a couch somewhere. It's in the top shelf of your closet. And you're like, why are these on the opposite sides of the house? So it relieves that chaos from your life too, when you have everything nice and neat and orderly.
Exactly. And that's what he was saying was, being able to prevent as much chaos as possible in your life, everything you have control over, is really the key to finding that peace.
Yeah.
Because if you have all this chaos around you, you're not going to be able to know peace.
Yeah, it's like subconscious stress.
Sense. Yeah. And exactly, that's what that form of chaos is that subconscious stress and the weight that you're putting down on your mind. And it's like being able to clean up all your food when you eat. And it's like, if you look down and you have a little bit here, a little bit there, things messing around on your plate, it's like, it looks chaotic.
Yeah. Well, it's like also easier to clean.
Yeah. Well, yeah. Yeah. But that's the point, is like, bottom line, it looks chaotic. And our subconscious picks up on all these things that are going on, and it'll leave you with really mixed feelings, as weird as that might sound. The main point of all this, when we talk about being able to form discipline and why it is so critical for you to be able to achieve success. Because again, like I said with the disclaimer, technically you do not need discipline to be successful, but it's going to open up a world of opportunity for you, and it's going to make your life a hell of a lot easier and better.
Just backtracking real quick, on the whole chaotic like plates and stuff, I don't know if it's because I was in the service industry and I was a waiter and all that, but like last night, for example, I was out to dinner with my dad, right? And obviously you're with family, so there's a lot of talking, and then after you're done eating, the table's a mess, right? You got plates over here, dishes over here, cups over here. I got in the habit probably 10 years ago of stacking everything together. And then, some people do it because it's like a courtesy to the waiter or the busser or whatever the case may be. Like, you just stack it all nice and neat to the side. But it also makes that end meal conversation a lot better, because then you don't have things obstructing the view. You don't have things just cluttered all over the table. You're not distracted by anything. Everything's nice, neat, put to the side, and then you're able to have a less stressful conversation with the people you're with.
Personally, I mean, I always cleaned up the plates as a courtesy to the waiter.
Yeah.
But that, of course, that does make a lot of sense.
Yeah, I mean,
it does
but
remove that chaos in your environment, and you're able to sit down and have that conversation,
Yeah, but even if it starts off as a courtesy, it's still a good form to get into that disciplined habit of making that table neat. Even if it's like like if you're waiting a long time for the waiter to come over, usually they do, he's running around 5 other tables. He's got to get checks for everybody. It's like, why wait for him? Sure, people can say, yeah, but that's his job. Okay, well, he can pick it up when it's done. How hard is it to move the plates out of the way? So even if it starts off as a courtesy, like you said, it's still a good form of beginning that habit and that discipline of keeping things nice, neat, and orderly.
All the smaller details, all the little things you can do to help build up discipline in your life. And this last little main point here does kind of tie into the whole picture, right? The bigger picture of it all.
Yeah, the whole shebang.
Yeah. But spend time today on focusing on the little details and the smaller tasks that you really want to put off. That's your assignment today. That's the goal. Get out there, and every little thing that you've been pushing off for the last couple of days, just get it done. Because there's a lot of things that go into play with that. It's a lot easier than you think. It's not as miserable as you think. And you're going to clean up a lot of that chaotic energy that's around you. It's all because every little thing that you put off, your brain keeps track of.
Yeah, it
like
stores
we're saying
it.
With the shoes and with the food and whatnot. And when you're lacking discipline, your brain's going to remember those things. So it can make you lose focus on your vision, and it's going to clutter up your mind with all this negative energy and extra stress that you don't need in your life. It can also demotivate you, and it can really make you not come through for yourself. As I know we already mentioned a couple times with discipline,
Yeah, like
a lot
I said,
of
with
that's seen coming through for people.
Yeah, it's like what I said with the motivation for the gym. If you set too big of a window for you to go and you don't hit that, you're going to not want to start going anymore. Because then you're going to keep saying, oh, yeah, it's 5 days a week, 5 days a week, 5 days a week. And you only go 1 or 2 days. Just set it back down to 1 or 2 days. And then hit that goal every time. And then you're going to want to keep it going. You're not going to lose that motivation.
We all have that one friend who's late to everything.
Yeah.
Right? And I know that used to be me. So I totally understand this, right? But we have that one friend that's always late. And then over time, that's kind of like just what you expect from them. So like, okay, we're all going to meet up here at 9. You just know, okay, so we're all going to be here at 9, and I'll see you at 9:15. Like, it's just expected, right?
Yeah. You lower your expectations for certain people or then yourself.
Yeah. And you notice how, in that sense, it kind of becomes an acceptable part of that behavior and of that relationship. So when we think about it like that, how often do you fail to meet your own expectations? Because if you're constantly setting all these goals for yourself and getting all these things done, or not getting all these things done, your brain's keeping track of that. And next time you're just like, oh, you know what? I got this tomorrow. I'm going to wake up. I'm going to go do that first mile in the morning. I'm going to take that cold shower. And your brain's like, uh-huh.
No, you're not.
Yeah, okay. See you at 9:15.
Yeah.
Right? And then you're going to wonder why you're having this struggle trying to move forward in self-growth and personal development. And that's where that discipline comes in. Yeah. Because you need to be adding these tallies or adding these brownie points up in your subconscious and show yourself that you can come through for you.
Yeah.
And it all starts by doing the small stuff.
It's basically proving to yourself that you're worth it. You're worth that time and energy to put in yourself, because you'll actually follow through with it.
Your brain knows who you are, and it's constantly trying to figure out who you are. And if it thinks that, or if it knows that you're not going to follow through with things, or that you're lacking discipline in certain areas, it's going to kind of push you away from keeping control of that, because it already doesn't expect it from you. So you're going to have this internal struggle all the time when you're trying to make these little improvements. And really, that's going to be the first step, is just start doing those little things and get through for yourself.
Yeah. Okay. So like you were saying with the lowering expectations of others and yourself, and like your brain really knows who you are, you're going to start subconsciously lowering your self-worth, and your self-esteem is going to drop, because then you are going to start putting yourself down. Now, I don't really want to go too deep into this, because I have a topic coming up in the next couple of weeks that I'm going to talk about this, but it's a better form of practicing your mental health and getting better and on track with that if you have that discipline, because you will eventually hit those accomplishments that you set for yourself when you have discipline. Like you said, you don't really need success. You don't really need discipline with the success, because there's many different forms of achieving that and defining it for yourself. But one of the first things you need to do is discipline, like you said, and like we mentioned, a whole bunch of different examples and little things that you can start doing. If it's with the cleanliness of your shoes, of how you keep your house nice and tidy, if it's cleaning the bathroom, if it's doing the small things that you don't want to do, if you're doing that enough, you'll start gaining that self-worth about you're able to do things, because you're able to achieve all these goals that you set for yourself, but you have to believe in yourself. And if you're not achieving the smaller goals, like I said, the cleaning your bathroom, the putting your shoes together in one spot, then you're going to start losing that hope for yourself. But the goal is to believe in yourself. So you have to form discipline in whatever you do and follow through it 100% all the time.
Yeah, I think that's all we got for today. So if you guys would like to follow through a little bit more and actually follow us, we do have an Instagram and a Facebook account. Those are down in the description below. Otherwise, here on YouTube, you'll find new videos every Monday and Wednesday at 8 a.m. EST. And we are also on Anchor. So anywhere where you listen to your podcast, we're on there as well. Feel free to check that out. All that's down below.
And until Wednesday, go and get it.